Hello and welcome to My Left Ear. I'm Carrie Freeman. This is my co-host Petey Freeman, who's with me almost all the time. He just enjoys it. He's flirting with me right now because he thinks he's going to get treats. He's so smart that he remembers that I brought treats up here a few days ago and now he wants treats. So anyway, this is a pro-democracy YouTube channel. I used to call it liberal, but really, after October 18th, I went, this is just about, I love democracy, and I want to preserve it. So that's the umbrella, and it's called My Left Ear because I get messages through my left ear. I get information. I only have 50 more, I only need 50 more subscribers to reach 11,000, which I wanted to do by the first of the year. So I'm mentioning that first because sometimes people don't wait till the end to finish watching the videos. So I want to begin with something that's I have to talk in code. All right. You got to see Petey because he's like really doing the business here. So I'll slump down. About 2 weeks ago, this happens, I'm driving the car or doing dishes often. So about 2 weeks ago, I'm in the car and I'm thinking about murder, to be honest with you. And it was odd. And I kind of ignored it. And I thought, why is that popping into my head? And sometimes this will happen with my left ear, that it's so sort of a natural flow of thoughts that I can fail to recognize this is information, Carrie. And so it was coming and going for 2 weeks. And now this past week, I noticed there are, on Twitter especially, there are videos popping up about Jeffrey Epstein's death in prison, that he allegedly hung himself and committed suicide. Well, I've never bought that because my intuitive on Jeffrey Epstein was that his ego was so enormous that I do not believe he would have offed himself that early in the process. He had just been in jail for a short period of time, and in his warped mind, he could get out of this somehow, some way. Now, all of a sudden, there's these videos, people's opinions. I'm gonna, so you can see me a little better. I think Pete's just gonna fall asleep while I'm talking. And I'm just putting it out there that I now have real doubts that he committed suicide. It's just coming together for me, and we'll have to look at that. I want to be very careful and not, set off enormous, well, so-and-so said, but I'm just giving you this information that this is new. It's kind of new upon me. Now I'm going to move on, and I've got runes today and all kinds of stuff. I want to talk about Bobo and Nancy Mace being called into the Situation Room separately to be confronted by that guy, Cash Patel, I think Pete Hegseth, not sure, Biondi, etc., etc. And the Situation Room is, I think it's in like a basement, but I'm not sure. But there, you can't bring any recording devices in there. It's like so lock up. So nobody went in there with any recording devices. Make sure that it couldn't be recorded. What was said couldn't be recorded. So it wasn't recorded. But it reminded me of something. It reminded me of a very famous MAGA narcissist. I think he's very much a narcissist. And that would be Dr. Phil. because when his show was on the air towards the end, there was a story. So there was a leak from his show. I think that was it. And he called the whole staff into a room to berate everyone accordingly, and lock the door. All the employees were locked, the production staff, in the room with Phil raging at them. And I thought, wow. At the time, I thought, wow. And because I've worked in the entertainment industry and I love asking questions, I don't care who it is, I love asking questions. I was on a break on a TV show and the cameraman came out and he was having his cigarette. I don't smoke. So I just asked him about myself, and he was a regular cameraman on Dr. Phil. So I said, okay, it's just like you and I. And tell me, is he that bad? And the guy just like shook his head, like you don't know. There's Pete. The guy shook his head, like you have no idea. He's awful. So I've gotten that from a few crew members because they're the best. I mean, they have the information, and so I'm thinking about Mace going into that room, kind of being locked in there, no cell phone, nothing, and being most likely berated and threatened to change their vote in terms of allowing the Epstein files to be, opened up, revealed, made public. And so Bobo and Nancy Mace went through that, and they did not change their vote. And I just have a guess that had to be like the worst 30 minutes or 45 minutes of their life, how awful that was. And I don't even care about these women, but there you go. They're standing up. They didn't change their mind, and I got to give them credit for that, because that would be some heavy duty pressure. Now, in terms of the subject matter of pedophilia and famous pedophiles, Katie Johnson was one of the most famous young girls, underage girls. I think she was 12 or 13. She was a virgin. That was silenced. Like, she and her family came out to sue Trump. I don't know if it was Epstein also. And she had a very powerful lawyer, I think on the East Coast. And the family got threatened a lot, and they dropped it. And she had like amazing testimony, and she's still around, a young woman now. She was a virgin when Trump chose her, and she had a blonde wig on, and he said, she reminds me of my daughter. Okay, so he chose her and he wanted to have sex with her. Katie Johnson, even today, says, I was a virgin. I know from reading her entire transcript, he slapped her, he demeaned her, she wanted him to wear a condom and he didn't. And I guess she said, what if I'm pregnant? And he threw some money on the bed and said, get an abortion. He was horrible. And allegedly, she ended up with Epstein until she got out of this awful environment. And when Epstein found out that Trump had taken her virginity instead of himself, Epstein wanted that jewel, he became furious, and he raped Katie, and according to her, sodomized her. So it's an awful story. It's an awful story. But I feel like for the sake of what we're doing, all this stuff needs to come out. We can't hide anymore. And she's willing to talk. So God bless her. I just cannot. So then I'm trying to decide whether to post it, but I have a graphic that has maybe 6 or 7 names of little girls and little boys who were sexually assaulted by that guy. And they all got paid off. So this list I have says how much they got paid, how much they got paid. And there are boys in this list. Now, tell me in your comments whether you're okay with me sharing this graphic so you can see the people and how much they got when they were children. And I will do it. I just don't want to offend people, but it's damn interesting. It's just the people's name when they were children and what they received for non-disclosure. Let me know. I'll give it a day or two for you guys to respond. Okay, I blew up here again. Come on, stop blowing up on me. All right. So I asked the runes, will there be more surprises? Because Katie Johnson speaking up now is a bit of a surprise. And I got the rune of growth in the reversed position. And it says aspect of character, interfere with growth of new life. Now that could be her abject fear, or it could be the character of that guy. And even though you may be dismayed at failing to take right action, meaning she's like muzzled, focus on diligence right now. Strip away until you can identify all the obstacles. You may be required to cultivate the soil again, and then through correct preparation, growth is assured. So there's a stunt, kind of like a muzzling thing initially, and I believe more will come out. That's me. Then I got the rune of separation. Now is a time of separating old paths. Old skins must be shedded, outmoded, discarded, meaning it's new now. You have support that you never had before. Look at that beautiful, beautiful Petey showing himself. He got his grooming, so his coat is just extra beautiful today. And thank you for loving Petey. It's so sweet. I mean, I swear to God, it's his show now, I think. This is a rune of radical severance, the separation. And I think it might be like about her pulling away, as well as others in her bracket who were young at once, and so it just says work with this powerful energy. Don't back off, Katie and others. Keep up, work with this powerful energy, because it speaks of new experiences coming to you. And it is the rune of acquisition. So it'll give you the will to carry it out. It'll give you the strength to carry it out. But it is a rune of acquisition and benefits. And so there's an indication here that by you finally speaking, this could be a very good thing for you and liberating, and for the others also. And this separation rune, it says, will free her to become truly more who she is. Could be a huge healing for her. And then I got the warrior reversed. And it says danger through hasty or ill-timed actions could cause some problems. So it's be cautious, go slowly. Matters of trust and confidence are at issue. And they speak to the authenticity of your way of being in the world right now. You are the real deal, Katie Johnson and others who have this information, who suffered so terribly. But be careful, be cautious. Think first about lusting for an outcome. Notice the timing. Notice your internal messages. Don't jump too fast. All right. Michael Wolff, the guy who's written like 4 or 5 books, I think, on Epstein and Trump. I've lost count. He's all over the place. But about a week ago, I was listening to an interview with him, and the woman who is British, who interviews him a lot, responded to a story that I personally, quietly responded to. And how I responded was, What? Sorry, Pete. That Epstein, in an email, advised Jeffrey Epstein about how to handle something with Trump. So all of a sudden he went from a journalist, an author, to advising Epstein in an email, and the email was disclosed. So Michael wasn't, he really didn't talk about illegality, but he knew a lot, and he gave him advice. And he told Epstein, well, you don't need to do anything. You just let that guy bury himself. Shoot himself in the foot, whatever you want to call it. And in terms of Michael Wolff, I sort of recoiled when I heard him say when I heard him reading what the advice that I went, this just isn't kosher. And then this British woman called him on it, and I could see Michael Wolff almost like the color drained out of his face. Not that he has much color in his face, and he sort of was taken off guard by, I guess, his friend. I think they've been friends for a long time. And that's when I started, okay, I'm not crazy. This is weird. She was very good, by the way, the woman. She didn't play favorites. So I asked the runes, will Michael Wolff receive blowback? And I'm thinking like serious blowback, not just criticism, from advising Epstein via email. Now, at the end of the day, Michael Wolff is saying, listen, this is part of my job. This is how I get people to tell me the truth, by creating rapport. I have to tell you, I don't think he's completely wrong there. He's, as my mother used to say, sometimes people talk out of both sides of their mouth. And maybe that's a familiar phrase to you, but my mother used to say it, so that my mother came in and visited me. So in this question about Michael Wolff, I got, is there going to be big blowback? And I got movement reversed. So that is a block. That's a stop. And it says pause. And it says to him, be certain that what you are doing is timely. The opportunity and messages here are possibly to avoid action and consider what is timely. So, that was pretty accurate, Then I got the rune of breakthrough, and it says signs of a major shift or breakthrough is upon him. This may be a game changer for him, that he came so close to almost like implicating himself. But this is the breakthrough is about self-change and transformation. And it may affect how Michael Wolff does business going forward. And for some, this breakthrough is very radical. And the person can no longer live the life in the ordinary way. But the outcome is assured, and radical trust is called for here. I don't think he's going to get into trouble. That's my intuitive on it, because it says there's some bright warmth of the sun as it breaks through the final barriers. So it feels like there's like a good outcome. And it says, in the light of day, all is revealed. And we kind of know that. We're getting close to the light of day right now. Let me just see if there's any more here. And then lastly, initiation for Michael Wolff about what's been unleashed. And it's something that's hidden, a secret. Well, that's very literal, isn't it? And this initiation comes with a strong message that it clears a path for change. And right now, it's saying to Michael Wolff, the best action is no action. Like, just pull back from all of this. I don't mean hide. He just doesn't need to embellish it anymore. It's in the email. And And it says for him, Michael Wolff, that there are things going on outside of his range of knowing. That's entirely possible. But this rune does speak to surprises, gains, unexpected things, secrets, and the unknown. And the message is capitalize on opportunities that come your way, and be aware that chance favors the prepared mind. He's pretty prepared, but he was taken off guard. Now, this goes back to what I told you at the beginning, that all of a sudden, my left ear is sort of discussing murder with me, but not with Epstein's name, just murder. And I'm like, why is this coming up? Until I went boing. And so I asked the rune, was Epstein murdered? Just because things are coming out now where people are revisiting their thoughts about this and thinking, yeah, maybe he was. So I got signals reversed. I tell you, the Mac is just exploding on me like my old one did. I got signals reversed. It says you may be concerned over what appears to be failed communication. Well, it was discovered communication, as well as a lack of clarity. And that he may be inhibited from accepting more interviews right now, and a sense of, I think he's frustrated, Michael Wolff. But if you remember I can't think, I'm like, oh, okay, the guy who continues to write about Trump, and he was part of the Nixon thing. It's just escaping me. This is what happened. I didn't write it down. He knew all about COVID, and he didn't make it public. He could have done a public service announcement, but he kept it until he published and made a ton of money. And there was another author who did the same thing. New stuff, waited, made a lot of money. So this is what happens with writers, authors, and journalists. They're thinking about themselves. And then I got the Rune of Growth regarding Michael Wolff, and it just says there's growth in affairs of the world, and he may be looked upon as valuable, and I think he's okay. I think he's going to be okay, and he might be useful. And then the last one with Michael Wolff is initiation, and it just warns him there's a counsel about expecting too much, or expecting in the ordinary way. The old way has come to an end. That's sort of good overall to hear that. The old way has come to an end. Do not dwell on outcomes. Be present. And it's about shaping. And Michael Wolff may need to shape a little bit now. So now we're coming to the end here. I asked the runes this because he appears to be asking, his personal attorney general, Pam Bishop, to investigate Bill Clinton and others in regard to Epstein. What did they know? What was their contacts? Not himself, others. And that's his way of obstructing the release of the files. And so she says yes to everything. But I got the rune of flow in the reversed position. And that's all I needed, because this bogus investigate Clinton and others, I think is going to end up in a heap in the trash. And I just wrote, the answer is, it is unlikely that an investigation into Clinton will be complete, will reach a resolution or results. It won't go anywhere. And most likely interrupted by, I would say, new evidence, and probably good evidence that helps helps us rid ourselves of this very toxic that guy. So here's a little story, a good evidence story that I meant to look this up, but I feel so embarrassed. The UFC is very famous, and I'm really embarrassed because it's all about, the Fight Club. It's very big, it's huge, and Trump has been a favorite of the UFC for a long time. But now, and his good friend is like the head of the UFC, Dana White, and they're like this, and Trump goes every year with a whole bunch of his people, and they watch this, and he's been loved. And he hasn't missed a UFC event in New York since 2022. But they hate him now. And the stars of the UFC hate him. They don't want to be around him. They've turned on him, and they don't want him there. This is where he got his juice, where he'd walk into those UFC events and it was like all hail the king. And he was a big man, and he knew everybody, and all the fighters loved him. It's not that way anymore. So guess what? He canceled. He canceled going to the UFC, and he was going to bring Patel and Bondi and Bongini and JDV, basically the captain, because he has his posse. That's a consciousness of guilt, and that's also him running away. He doesn't want to face that rejection and that will really hate. They really, really don't like him anymore. That to me is good evidence. He just lost a whole very powerful segment. And the UFC is going to affect people. They're going to say, well, I just used to love that guy, but not so much anymore. And here's a quote. And strangely, the quote is by Lyndon Johnson, but he was really smart. He was like a closeted racist who ended up doing good things for Black people, but my dad was a speechwriter for him back in the day. And my dad said, he used to say the N-word all the time. He just swore like a truck driver, and then he'd present to the public with a lot of dignity, so on and so forth. But he did some good things, Lyndon Johnson. So this is pretty clever. This is what he said. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best Black man, that would be, let's just say Obama, he won't notice you're picking his pockets. Picking his pockets. Sorry about that. Picking his pockets. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, and he'll empty his pockets for you. If you want, I'll place this in the post section so you can read it. Now, this is the end for today, which is Monday, November 17th. I needed to change my notes here because it says Thursday, but it's not Thursday. It's Monday, November 17th, video 294. I'm just going to go back and mention to just keep an eye on some of these things, and remember that I'm gonna get to 11,000 by January 1st. That's the goal, because it's been going well. So thank you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and blessings, and we'll have another look at Pete, because he's just started to rain again. So this is his mood, and he loves the belly rubs. Pete, you're hiding your face. Come on around so people can see your face a little bit. But he was good today. He really showed up today. You were a good boy today. I thought it wasn't going to be raining today, but it's raining. So it's that kind of energy. And I grew up in Chicago with this kind of weather a lot. And it always makes me feel like I want to do nothing. I just want to do nothing. I want to watch a movie. So I had to overcome resistance today. I had resistance just because, I just really want to curl up with a nice blanket. But here I am, I'm on it. So I will see you soon. And I say thank you. And we've just got another interesting week ahead of us. The news is just going to keep on keeping on. All right. You take care. Be good. Be good to others. Bye-bye.